Well, obviously a good win in a place that's been hard for us to win here over the last couple of decades. Interesting game, a game we get behind, then build a big lead, and then make it a little bit closer than possibly should have there at the end. But really proud of our guys and finding ways. When we needed big drives, we made big drives. When we needed stops there in the third quarter, got stops and put us in a position where we get a chance to play here at home Saturday for a chance to win a conference championship.
All right, and with that, we'll start with Nathan Zwaffer.
Morning, Coach. How are you?
Good.
We talked about Charles Pierre last week after he had a big game against Indiana State. Kind of one-up that against UND. Just how good was he on Saturday, and what's been working for him these last 2 weeks?
Well, he's been able to break some big runs. It means two things. Number one, we're blocking and getting him through the first level of defense, and when he gets into the secondary, he's been able to make guys miss and outrun them. He brings that dimension to our run game in combination with what Travis brings, and those two were really good on Saturday. Both well over 100 yards. Charles certainly, with the fact that he's played every game, goes over 1,000, which is a great accomplishment for him and demonstrates the effectiveness of our run game offensively.
Yeah, speaking of that 1,000-yard season, that's the first one for South Dakota since you guys moved up to Division I. What has that said about the season he's had, considering all the talented running backs that have come through Vermillion since that move to D1?
Yeah, just number one, it shows it's not easy to rush the football in this league. You play in great defenses week after week. I think, give our offensive staff credit. I think we've developed some really good run schemes that complement what those guys do from a running back standpoint and what Charles does really well. And he just continues to get better, playing with more confidence. He's seeing things well in the run game right now. And as I said, he's got some different ability from a big play capability because of his speed.
How big of a boost is it for the offense to have him playing at this high level with one big game left in the regular season, and then obviously the playoffs ahead after that?
Yeah, we got a lot of guys that are playing at a high level, and Charles is one of those. To win in the playoffs, you got to be able to run the football. At the same time, we're going to have to be balanced this week against a really good North Dakota State defense, and hopefully create some big plays.
With North Dakota State, obviously, there's a lot to analyze and look at film, but just what are your first impressions of that team?
They're a typical North Dakota State football team, very talented, very well coached. Defensively, they're very aggressive. They're going to make it hard for you to run the ball. They're going to put a lot of guys in the fit. They're good tacklers. Offensively, they're a little bit different. Spread you out a little bit more. Got an extremely talented and experienced quarterback who seems like I say this every week, but is a true dual threat quarterback that you have to contain in the run game, as well as I think he's throwing the football really well this year.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
All right, Zach Ford, go ahead.
Coach, a little bit more to that point about the quarterback, Miller. I still don't think he's thrown an interception this year. I could be wrong on that, but either way, he hasn't turned the ball over. He's kind of improved basically every year that he's been in the Valley. How do you create some more chaos? How do you kind of obviously you figure in a game like this, turnovers are going to be key. What do you do to maybe create a little more chaos around him to try and force a mistake?
Well, you got to play, you got to play really good defense. You got to be able to put pressure on the quarterback in passing situations, because if you let him stand back there, he's going to find receivers, or he's going to take off with the ball. Certainly trying to keep him contained in the pocket is a part of that, if you can get him into those third and off schedule situations. Got to change the looks up a little bit. Our defensive staff does a good job of that from a plan standpoint. They're still a team that wants to run the football. Just that, they're a little bit more balanced maybe than what they've been the last couple of years.
I know the loss last year in the playoffs was one that kind of left a mark with this team and wanted to go farther. To see these guys again at home, obviously you had to play one game at a time and finish everything out to that point, but I don't want to say it's cliche to say there's something to prove, but to see them again, was this a game they kind of highlighted knowing the way everything went a year ago?
Well, this team's had a goal of winning a championship, and so we're in a position to be playing the last game of the year with an opportunity to do that. And so I guess they probably looked at the schedule and saw this was the last game of the year, and wanted it to have that kind of bearing, and it's great to have the opportunity to play this level of game in the Dakota Dome in front of our fans. We understand full well, last year we got off to a really good start up in Fargo. We're able to find a way to win that game down here. They got off to a great start, and we never were able to respond. And so it's a game that our guys will come into knowing full well that it's got to be a 60-minute of outstanding football effort for us, and we'll be prepared to do that.
And finally, I know obviously we can talk about the stakes and what the implications of this are, but it is senior day, and I know certainly the hope is that you'll have at least one more, maybe several more games in the Dakota Dome, but can you put into words, are we going to really understand the impact of this senior class, considering obviously how much they went through, some of them going through COVID, but in the transfer portal era, sticking with this program, especially after everything that happened in 2022, are we going to really understand the impact that this senior class had for maybe even for a few years? It'll take a few years after this to maybe even understand their impact as you get set to kind of give them a tribute here on Saturday.
Yeah, tremendous bunch of leaders. Two different senior classes, really. When you look at, some that benefit from the COVID year, and then you got the senior class that came in, at the end of the COVID cycle. And so it's the biggest group of seniors that I've had as a head coach in my tenure here. And you look across the board of that group, and just, a tremendous group of leaders that have really changed the course. And I think the perception of University of South Dakota football, that we're a team that can challenge year in and year out at a national level, and want to leave that as a legacy and from their leadership.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
And Jay Elson, go ahead.
Coach, how we doing?
Good, Jay. How are you?
Good. First off, Marty Brown, their young running back. Obviously, they don't ever rely on one. They've kind of been like you guys in that way, where they've always got several really good options. But he's certainly a guy that's kind of exploded onto the scene this year for them. What do you see when you look at him on film that has made him so dynamic so quickly?
Yeah, he's a hard runner. And similar to our guys, he can break tackles, he can make guys miss. I think he's running with good vision. I think the more games that you play, the more confident you are in run schemes. I think he's a guy that's gotten better as the season has gone on. And, we talk about that with Charles and his improvement over, the last couple of years. And he's certainly taken advantage of his opportunities so far this season.
I know you've addressed Cam a little bit already, but obviously kind of the leader in the clubhouse at this point for the Walter Payton Award and playing some of his best football. He's always been very efficient with the football, but what difference do you see in him, even from what he's always been a winner, but what else has kind of separated him from the pack this year with the way he's played?
Well, with offensively, they've opened up a little bit more passing game wise, and he's responded to that and played really well. Does a good job of distributing the football and making decisions with the football in the passing game. He's not just a running quarterback. He's a true dual threat quarterback, and some of the subtle changes that they've made offensively have allowed him to utilize those skills.
No Dennis for you guys on Saturday. I know you know how valuable he is, but at the same time, did you get a better sense of just how important he is when he wasn't out there?
Well, you miss him not only because of his level of play, but you miss him from a leadership standpoint on defense. Not that we don't have other great leaders on that defensive group, but every piece of the puzzle is important, and Dennis is a really important piece. So we're excited. It's very hopeful that he's going to be available this week, and certainly a guy that will have impact in the game.
How much of the communication burden falls on him from his spot, and how much does he just take upon himself in that way?
Yeah, the safety positions for us, along with our Mike linebacker, are really the quarterbacks of our defense. And, we got JoJo Gaines back there who, tremendous experience, does a good job with that. Dennis, also a guy that is really good, a very football savvy player. And so to have him back and add another guy that sees the game really well on that defensive side of the ball is extremely valuable.
From Aiden's standpoint, there's only been 2 games, at least that I could find, in his career where he's thrown multiple interceptions against South Dakota State last year and against North Dakota State in the playoffs. Is that something that he's using personally as he comes into this to just try to play his cleanest football? He's a guy that doesn't turn it over much, and unfortunately those 2 games stand out in that way. So is that something he's focusing on pretty hard this week? Because obviously last year you look at the playoff game, you turned it over 3 times as part of the reason that it got away from you. Going to be really important anytime you play NDSU to take really good care of the football. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, if you look at those interceptions, I know one of them was a tip ball. I mean, it was a combination of things. Aiden's done a great job of being the leader of our offensive football team, and we're going to have balance. I think that's one of the key things when you play them. You have to find some level of success. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to have to find some level of success rushing the football so that you can throw the ball on your terms and not be in a bunch of third and off schedule situations. But Aiden's played great. Played great. He's been a guy that may not have the overwhelming passing numbers, but he's been tremendously efficient. Even last week when he threw the interception, which he'd be the first to admit he'd like that throw back. He throws 3 touchdowns, throws touchdown passes at critical times. But more than that, he's really been an unbelievably good decision maker at the line of scrimmage. And one of the reasons why our run game numbers are what they are is because he's getting us into the right play a lot of the time.
How much fun is it to go into this last game? I mean, you guys have talked about it all the way through since you've been here. You've had the opportunity to get a piece of a conference title, I think it was a couple of years back, and unfortunately you had to play NDSU that time too, and it didn't go real well in Fargo. So just to be in this position, knowing that everything that you guys have set out to accomplish in this season literally is still in front of you, and you get to play the opportunity to get that first piece in your building on your field.
Well, that's what it's all about. You want to be playing a game at the end of the season that has tremendous meaning. That's what you do all the 12 months of work for, is that you're playing at the end of the year for an opportunity to accomplish something special. This group's done a lot of things that no other USD football team has done, and we have an opportunity to do one more on Saturday against a really, really good football team. And as you said, what makes it really special is we get that opportunity in front of our fans, and I hope our fans really do appreciate that opportunity to be a part of that.
What does a win in this game mean? Obviously, it's a goal accomplished for you, but in terms of the trajectory of the program, to finally be able to say that you're a team that's won a championship in the Missouri Valley Football Conference, that carries a lot of weight, as you look toward the future. So, are you contemplating all those pieces of it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's not many teams that have won Missouri Valley Football Championships over the last couple of decades, besides the two that we're competing heavily against, and to have the opportunity to do that, and the opportunity to be a part of that group is certainly a special one, and I think the one thing our guys have learned over the years is if you want to do that, you got to play 60 minutes of your very best football from the opening kickoff through the very end. And that's what we're going to have to do Saturday.